Hello everybody and welcome to the Spider-Man Far From Home review. I saw this movie right after I saw Toy Story, but I saw Toy Story 4, and so but I know that the Toy Story review was like 4 days ago and I'm a little late on this. But anyway, let's just hop right into this. The first thing that I really want to talk about was that the first 10 minutes of the movie really focuses on what happened at Endgame. But if you didn't care about Endgame or don't care about the MCU as a whole, it comes off as completely waste of time and stupid. There is absolutely no point to talk about Endgame for 10 minutes long, and I actually started laughing after like 10 minutes of watching the movie. It felt like they had like a checklist of things that they needed to do. Like, first 10 minutes, they needed to talk about where everyone was for the 5 years and how that affected the school system. And number 2, they needed to bring up about like how Peter Parker is like expected to take over as Iron Man. Then they need to talk about like how he's sad about Iron Man, and it comes off really forceful and really dumb and stupid. Anyway, let's hop into some of the good things about the movie. Tom Holland in this movie was fantastic. I cannot emphasize how good of an actor he is, especially at playing his role as Spider-Man. If there was a scene where he has to break down and like cry or whatever, and you really do feel like he's like crying and like he's like a real person, and it works really, really, really well. Samuel Jackson's character was outstanding. As I was watching the movie, he seemed like a little bit off, like a little off written, and like he wasn't like the good old Samuel Jackson that we've come to know and love in the MCU. But there's a reason for this, and if you stay after for the after credits, you find out something. And while he's like trying to hold himself back and really be like kind of off character because of what you see at the end of the movie, and that to me was so unbelievably cool that he would hold himself back purposely for his role because something is going on, and that just made so much sense to me, and it was just an amazing acting performance from Samuel Jackson. Mysterio as a character was really, really cool. He came off as charismatic. You believed his plot. He was like the only villain that really made sense to me. There was a part where you had to like go back into flashback and how he was like related to Tony Stark, and that came off as really dumb and stupid and really forceful. But that was the only part that I didn't really like about Quentin Beck or Mysterio, was that his backstory. The visuals in this movie, half of them were great and the other half were kind of bad. But that half that was great was seriously some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen before in a movie. Like, it was just so cool, mixed with like action and characters, and really Quentin Beck pulled it all together with Mysterio, and he was just so cool as a villain with the visual effects. I mean, I would compare this to Doctor Strange. It was so colorful and so trippy, and yet it all blended together really well, and it was just awesome to see. This movie was really, really fast-paced. Like, it didn't like skip a beat at all when they got to London. Let's talk about some of the bad, though. So some of the bad were, it was really, really corny when they talked about social media. Whenever they talk about social media in this movie, it's always so over-exaggerated and over-dramatic. Like, oh, these kids are always on their phones, and it seems like an old man screaming at someone who's like 3 years old. It just comes off as really dumb and stupid. The CGI was really bad in broad daylight. So when it was Mysterio and it was all black, it looked great. It looked fantastic, and you totally bought everything that was shown to you. When it was in broad daylight, though, the drones looked a lot brighter, and a lot more shinier than what was being shown around the set around them, so they came off looking really, really fake.
Like, there's numerous issues with the shot. That green is, you can see a little green in the grass in the top left corner there. The green of his eyes is way more saturated than the most saturated green that's in the scene. The camera wouldn't be able to capture that much saturation. He shouldn't be as saturated.
How much do you think they
And if it went on long enough that I could tell you what was wrong with this, then it definitely happened a lot, and, you know, kind of like pulled you out of the world that I was trying to bring you in. Okay, so this is spoiler talk. If you don't want to hear spoiler talk, then go to this part of the video. I watched Cosmonaut Quicket's review of this, and he said that there were a lot of consequences in this, and there definitely was more consequence in this movie than there were in other MCU movies, but when Samuel Jackson's character gets shot in the chest and walks it off like it was a Nerf bullet, there definitely is not enough consequences in the movie. There was more consequences, but there definitely wasn't like a whole lot of consequences in this movie. And again, just Samuel Jackson's performance, because we reveal that he's one of the green guys. I forget. I don't even know what they're called. But the fact that he held himself back for that role was just so unbelievably amazing. Overall, this movie was decent. It was an MCU movie. It had a lot good to it. It had a lot bad to it. If you like MCU movies, I would recommend go seeing this movie. If you're not a big fan of MCU movies, don't go watch this movie. It's, you know, painfully average and doesn't really try anything new. I'm giving this movie a 6.5 out of 10. See you guys later.